Who wants to be the next Italian wine ambassador? Join an exclusive network of 400 Italian wine ambassadors across 48 countries. Vinitaly International Academy is coming to Chicago on October 19th to 21st, and to Almaty, Kazakhstan from November 16th to 18th. Don't miss out. Register now at vinitaly.com.
Welcome to another episode of the Italian Wine Podcast, the Next Generation series, where we aim to answer one simple question. What are the new generations up to when it comes to wine and food? My name is Karla Ravagnolo. Join me as we dive into the latest trends in Italian wine. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Italian Wine Podcast. My name is Karla. I'll be your host for this episode of the Next Generation series. Today, I'm very much excited to welcome Mihai Popescu. He's a seasoned dynamic wine professional whose projects swing between Canada and Romania. He's an all-around wine professional with experience in B2B sales, marketing, business development, and wine judging. What I'm looking forward to talk about is his mission. He's a man with a precise vision that I can't wait to share with you. Welcome, Mihai.
Thank you so much for having me and thinking of inviting me to this amazing show. It's an honor to be part of it.
We're very much thrilled to have you with us today. So, if you agree, I would like you to start by telling us a little bit more about your background and what led you to pursue a career in the wine industry.
When I finished university, I studied business commerce management. And then in Canada, I started working with the company that does food and wine imports. So right away, after a few months, I started doing some classes because when you want to sell wines, you need to know the basics so you can tell the customers. So then I fell in love right away with the wine studies, everything what's about like the first sommelier school. I really loved it. So I started pursuing this very professionally, and since now it's going to be 11 years. So as soon as I finished university, I started specializing into wines, to say it like that. Last year, I graduated. I had the level 4 diploma from WSET, which is a big achievement for me. And it's not many people. In Canada, there's more, but in Romania, we're maybe like 10 to 15 people that have this diploma at this moment.
Congrats.
So, yeah, I did that. And part of what I was doing during this journey, I work with brands in Canada to do events. And I even work with a lot of Italian brands and French brands, but also Eastern European. I try to help them. I even made some events with wine tasting events a lot. And I teach, do presentation very often to sommelier schools or to private customers. That's something I really love to do, is to share my passion about wine with the consumer, especially with the consumer.
That is amazing. Kudos to you. So, your story was born in Romania, if I'm not mistaken, right? And your family used to make wine in Romania. So, do you think this played a role in your wine life, your interest in Eastern European wines, or wine in general?
I think it helped a lot when I moved to Canada. So part of my childhood, all I remember is all the harvest with both of my grandfathers. They made wine. So all I remember is the harvest, going to press the grapes, and then fermenting. And I was always involved because I was so curious as a child how they make wine out of it. So that was part of my childhood for many years, especially my Septembers before school started. I was always there with either with one grandpa or the other one helping them with the wine. And I mean, once I started studying the wine, and all this came back to my head, like you when you're studying how to make wine, how to press, the regions of France, the Italy, and then all I could remember is like my childhood when I was making wine with my grandparents. I wasn't old enough to drink it back then, but I was always curious and looking forward to grow up to do it with them, but I didn't have the chance. We moved to Canada, so then I never had the chance to do that with them when I was older, unfortunately.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm very jealous of your childhood. That sounds pretty amazing and fun. So, you were mentioning you moved to Canada. Did you notice any differences between Canada and Europe as per people's relation to food and wine?
I can definitely say between when I moved from Romania, like back then, especially in the region when I come from, wine, yes, it's important and everybody makes, but I mean, I moved to Canada and I was surrounded by the French, especially in Montreal where I live. The French and Italian culture is very present there. So I made Italian friends and French friends, and that's where I really got into this food and wine passion because in Montreal it's a city that lives on food and wine. It's very gastronomical city. And I mean, in especially in Montreal, yes, we it's a bit similar to Europe, where like food and wine go together. When you move to more the English side in Toronto or other cities, it's less pronounced. But I find that in the past few years, it's getting there, especially that people like in the English part of Canada were drinking more hard liquor. Now they're switching down to more approachable, like lower alcohol products. And first thing they're gonna do is try more wines. So I find, yeah, there's a big difference. And what I see now when I come back to Romania, because I come often, and I see and more the millennials traveling around the world, and especially to Italy. We love Italy as Romanians. And they come back and they bring back a lot of wine culture. So there's a demand for Italian products, especially here in Romania. It's a very big business at this moment.
That sounds great. Following up on this one, do you think that people want to be educated about wine, like Italian wine? You were telling that they're getting a little more curious about it. How are you feeling about it?
Definitely. I think that's the key to success. I mean, trying to sell alcohol nowadays, it's hard, especially with our generation, because we're more educated. We know more about what happens if you drink too much and the problems caused by that. But if you educate people who travel, they travel because they want to live an experience. And let's say I come back to Romania and I share an experience with consumers, and then you tell them the story and the history of the from, let's say, a region, a grape, the food that comes with it. They would like that to get that information, and would be easier for them to appreciate the wine. It's not just a getting drunk product; it's a cultural product. I find, and it opens conversations, and I mean it's fun. You don't have to abuse it, but I mean people are curious to learn. That's what I find. And now we have all these technologies, the pictures, the videos. We can travel easily, and I think that's the best way to get people to try products is by traveling. And then if they cannot travel, is to bring this type of experience back to them.
This is amazing. So I was just wondering, we were talking about all the opportunities that you're saying. So like you're pretty positive about the wine industry at the moment. Like you see a lot of opportunities out there.
So I think, yeah, there's a lot of, maybe like the economy wasn't doing so great, especially the during the COVID time, especially lockdowns. Restaurants were closed, but I mean it was a great opportunity. Like a lot of companies adapted to online tools and to online marketing, which I think that's the biggest opportunity of these times, is to adapt. Like you cannot just manage your vineyard like back in the days and expect to get customers. No, you need to be present on social media. You need to be present to virtual wine tastings. Get involved with influencers, with programs like we did with Vinitaly. It's very important to be part of these because our generation, the millennials, yes, we know we're going to drink a bit less, but we're more educated and we're going to drink better. So, I mean, maybe it's going to affect a bit the low end of the wines, but I mean, if you make good wine and you know how to promote it, we will appreciate it, especially with food. So, I mean, it's going to be like the AI is going to be a good opportunity. It's going to help producers make better wines in the production part, but also in the marketing and communication of the wine. If we embrace it and we know how to use it, I think it's one of the greatest opportunities we're going to have in the next years.
This is amazing. Another question I have for you is, because of this reasoning you just did, and because of your experience in marketing, sales, import, consulting, do you think that your perspective has been influenced because you are a millennial? Like, do you think this offers you a different point of view on the topic?
I think it made me more open minded. When I started 11 years ago, when I was new in the wine, I was still in contact a lot with the older generation, and they were just not too open minded about the diversity of the wine world. And now, as millennials, us, we like diversity. We want to give every region a chance, not just the classic Bordeaux or the Chianti. Like, just let's take a look at Italy. There's so many regions, that so many diversity in grapes, which us, I think, as a millennial, we love to embrace it. And I think that's the best opportunities right now is to chase the diversity, authenticity, and to stick with what you have original in your region. The food and the wine combined together, it's going to create opportunities not just for sales, but also for young millennials to travel to the region and discover them. I find, yes, we're more open to try new things.
This being said, you mentioned, I'm going to follow up on this because this is a very important topic, the diversity of Italian wine and like the approachability, right? Like education. And you're an Italian wine ambassador, first of all. So you kind of decided to embark on this adventure. I know it's a very rich legacy in terms of like wine, history, geography. How would you recommend approaching Italian wine?
In my experience, I started, to be honest, doing my first sommelier courses. I was more about French wines, but I'm really passionate about and I really enjoy a lot the Italian food. So, I mean, the best way to go around it is to try the classics and learn a bit about the main regions of Italy and the main grapes, the most popular, and then just build on it. So let's say, okay, after I discovered Chianti or Valpolicella or Barolo or some nice Etna Bianco, you can start going in the little regions and discover something like Lambrusco or Albana in Emilia Romagna. And by discovering that, you try to find some food that comes from that region, some cheese or some prosciutto. Or I find that if you look at regions not as just grapes, or you try to learn a bit what's diverse, what's different about each region, it's going to be much easier to learn and to appreciate the diversity instead of trying to learn everything at once, because it's a lot. And I mean, I suggest to everybody, even when I teach to my consumers or my the sommelier school, I start with the basics to with learn the classics and then build on, because there's always so much to learn. But once you know your classics well, it's gonna be much easier to build on it. And when you study the classic, especially the regions, you're gonna understand a lot. And then just the different grapes or regions is just add-ons to that. So it's gonna be easier after a while. It just gets easier. The first big step is to start to getting involved and to study a bit or to learn or to participate in tastings. Once you start into it, it's going to be more, for me, it's more and more interesting. And I never, when I studied wine and I studied for many years, especially the Diploma and even for Italian wine ambassador program, it's a very rich program. I never felt it was too much. I was always curious to read some more information because I think it's fascinating when you start reading how each region is diverse, like the geography, the mountains, the rivers, the influences, the history. Sometimes some wine is made because of some historical events. I think as millennials, we can learn a lot about the history of a country by studying wine.
I totally agree with you. You mentioned that you also like try to teach to sommeliers how to approach like Italian wine and everything. So my question for you now would be the next step, meaning how would you recommend to wine professionals both on the on and off trade to successfully communicate and sell the wines to local B2B or B2C clients? Like, is there any specific way to better translate in a way maybe the Italian wine to a Canadian community or to the Romanian
Let's
community?
say to B2B, I think it's very important to once you get, let's say, to Canada. Obviously, there's the monopoly that, especially in our province, it's the government controls the wine sales and imports. So I find once you get your wine there, it's important B2B. I think it's very important the human contact, like the relationship with you have. Go visit the restaurants that you have your wines listed, because it's gonna empower the manager, the sommelier of the restaurant, the employees, the staff. It's gonna, when you say, the person from the winery traveled all the way from Italy and we met with him, we stayed down, he explained his vision of the wine, he explained why he makes these types of wine. After, it's going to be much easier to sell to the customer, to even, because it's not just about sales, it's being confident to talk to your consumer about a product once you spoke with the person that actually makes the wine. I think that's a very important step. And with the consumer, I find if the producer cannot be, because obviously I have a lot of tastings directly with the consumers, I find what's interesting now, I try to do like everybody, like probably a lot, but it's important to do like a food and wine pairing, not just wines, because you can lose them easily, especially if the consumer is just at the beginning and they won't remember what they tasted or they don't pay attention. But when you pair it with food, sometimes it's going to make them remember easier, like with the type of pasta, with a certain type of wine, or with cheese. I think it has to be interactive nowadays. Everything you need to do, get out of the classic boring, oh, this is a wine, this is the grape, okay, thank. No, I think it has to evolve into something more, and where you have to make the consumer feel welcomed and not snob, because they're afraid. Sometimes even at the restaurants, they're afraid to ask questions to the sommelier because they don't want to look bad. So, but give the consumer some time and try to embark him in your, like, to make it interactive as a tasting. Ask questions, let them ask questions, make them feel comfortable. Don't be a snob like, oh, I know everything about wine. I think nowadays with millennials that will never work.
I totally agree. I feel like wine should be an exchange of ideas, you know? It's always funny to me when there's the typical like question when you're sitting at a table and it's like, what are you tasting in this wine? What are you smelling in this wine? And I can kind of listen to the music going dun dun dun, like the tension rises, right? And everybody's low-key judging because there's always this need for the right answer, for knowing what to say and everything. And I feel like this is kind of limiting, I mean, the opportunities to learn about wine because nobody wants to be exposed and being like, oh no, you're wrong. You know what I mean? Like, I totally agree with you. I feel like there should be more space to interact and to exchange idea freely without judging each other.
Yeah, but I start to ask them. I don't even try to impose what I'm like. It should be this aroma or that aroma at this point. It's like I ask them, what does this wine make you feel like? Do you enjoy it? Would you like to drink a glass? Would you pay for a bottle of this wine? Does this wine give you some satisfaction? Not just, oh, it has this aroma, because then they're just gonna think about, oh, I'm not smelling this aroma. Maybe I'm not good. Maybe they're gonna feel discouraged. Then that's not a wine is supposed to make you feel something and to start a very good conversation with the people at the table. I mean, that's very important. And yes, it has structure, it has tannins or acidity and sugars, but at the beginning, I don't think it's the most important step for the consumers. I think it just make them enjoy the wine and then get them into more the details of the how the wine is made. And okay, as nerdy sommeliers, we talk about a lot of stuff in the background, but I don't think that's how you impress the consumer. It's better to make them feel comfortable before you get to that with them.
I really like that word, comfortable. I totally agree with you, as I mentioned. Like, we should just welcome more people, make them feel comfortable, at ease, and wine is just fun. I really liked also another point you told earlier. One of the key questions I feel, in my personal opinion, should be, do you like the wine? As easy as that. And then maybe you can start talking about it. You know what I mean? But like, it should just be a matter of liking and enjoying and sharing.
Yeah, and for so many years, wine was regarded, especially in high end restaurants or wine bars, or something very reserved for a specific category of consumer, which I think is completely wrong. Now, millennials, you cannot approach them that way. And obviously, as you said, it's supposed to be fun. And then if you see that they enjoy it, then you can go into details because they're curious. And I'm sure like we're smart enough to understand a lot of the concepts of the geography, the winemaking, with all the information we have online. It's going to make their life very easy compared to 20 years ago when you only had mostly books to study and not many videos or not like all the information we have nowadays.
I have another question for you. So, going back to comparing in a way Canada and Romania, earlier in the interview, you mentioned that Canada is lowering the alcohol strength in a way, the alcohol percentage in their beverages, meaning like they're switching from spirits to wine to low alcohol beverages and stuff. How do you see Romania evolving right now? Like the wine market, the younger generations, how do you see that market evolving?
I find it's a completely different story here. It's like even the average consumption of alcohol is much higher in Romania. I find before they used to not drink, the younger generation, as much wine. and they would probably drink a lot sweeter wines maybe 10, 15 years ago. Now they travel a lot to Italy, to France, to Spain, or across the Europe since we're part of the European Union. It's been more than 10 years now. And it opens them to drink dry wines, to try sparkling, to try rosé. So it makes them more open-minded. I don't hear as much conversation here about no alcohol or low alcohol wines. I think the market is not there. The wine market is still young. For many years, because we had the communism, we only had access to Romanian wines, and now that it's opening up, I think there's still so much evolution in the wine market left that they're not thinking about the no alcohol or low alcohol. They just want to explore it.
Which sounds pretty exciting. And again, a lot of opportunities over there too.
I mean, yeah, and like not we always were focused on the Western world or Canada and North America, but we forget a lot of parts of the world are getting industrialized, they're evolving, and they're curious about wine. Once you start being at a certain level of culture and everything, you want to discover wines. And yes, maybe in the North America it's slowing down a bit, but I think it's just a phase. I mean, when we were younger, we didn't have that many studies on options of low alcohol and lower percentages. It wasn't there, so we didn't talk about it. Now there's more data on marketing data on that. But once they get a bit older, I think they're gonna switch to wine because it's more, especially with food, it makes it much more enjoyable, I find.
I totally agree with you. So on this topic, I actually want to ask you a question and play a fun game in a way. So let's say I'm having dinner at a restaurant in Bucharest, right? And I know nothing about wine. I'm a beginner. I know nothing. But you really, really want me to try some Italian wine to accompany a traditional Romanian dish, let's say Mitch. What would you recommend for me as a first approach to Italian wine, and how would you explain it to me?
So, because the meat is like little sausages with garlic and thyme and spices, can be even a bit, sometimes a bit spicy. And also keep in mind that now the sparkling is very trendy, even in Romania. Definitely recommend the Lambrusco. Dry, a bit of dry, because I think with the richness and the versatility of Lambrusco, which is a sparkling red wine, from Emilia Romagna region in Italy, I think would pair very well with the garlicky side and the spices in the little sausages. And I think it's very trendy and it's very hot here in the summer, also like in Italy. And it would make a very good, like a cold sparkling red wine with the meat, which is practically the first dish that everyone is having when they visit Romania. I think it would make very interesting, and I'll probably try it. Since I'm in Romania, I think I will do a pairing and send you some pictures.
Please do. Please do. That actually sounds pretty amazing. So, let's say we're imagining the same scenario in Canada, though. How do you think the pairing maybe would change, or the explanation, or the scenario? Do you think there would be an adaptation because the context is different?
I would go very differently in Canada since it's obviously the weather is different, the food is different. We have more access to, especially in Montreal, to fresh seafood, and the consumers, it's more at a different level right now of knowledge, and the market is more mature. I would definitely go with to suggest with some, like we have a lot of lobster or seafood in Montreal, so I would go definitely with an Etna Bianco, which is super cool at this moment, and I think the consumer would be ready to enjoy a wine like that. And because they were probably already got contact with the Chianti or a Barolo or a Brunello or a Valpolicella, but Etna Bianco would be something new for them to try, and it would be pairing very well with the seafood and lobsters and all the nice fish dishes we have in Montreal.
You made a very important point when you talked about like the market is already mature. They already know about Chianti. They already may know about this. They already may know about that. So I feel like it is really important to stress this, that people need to be more aware and mindful of that too, maybe when suggesting a wine pairing or a wine recommendation. So, one last question to wrap it up. What is your vision or goal for the coming years, maybe, let's say, in the wine industry? What's coming up next?
For the moment, like I finished with the WSET program, I did the Italian ambassador program, and I think I would like to spend more time between Romania and Canada, especially in Romania. I find there's a lot of opportunities here, and to do staff training, to do restaurant. There's a lot of restaurant offering Italian food, which is very popular even here or in Canada. This works for both. And I think I would like to spend a lot of my time educating the staff, or even doing private events with consumers or with the nice brands to enrich their culture. But since COVID, a lot of people in the restaurant industry, they left, and now there's only a lot of newcomers, and they don't have the wine experience, but they would like to learn. Like, I go to restaurants and I ask them, would you like to learn more about wine so you can present it to your consumers? So I would really like to focus on doing a lot of staff training around the best restaurants, and especially with Italian wine, since this is my passion. When I was studying WSET, I really fell in love with Italian wine, like specifically. And since then, I think because I like the diversity it has to offer, I think I would love to spread all this knowledge, and hopefully I'll get more knowledge because we never stop studying. I would like to, like, just last week I was in Rome and I got immersed a bit in the Roman food and wine culture, and I really loved my experience there. And I think this is the next step, is more towards sharing my experience, educating, but doing it interactively. I like to use a lot of videos, pictures, social media is very important. Trying to figure out the AI, because it's going to help a lot with media content, and obviously it's not going to take over. It's just to know how to use it, and to use it to make effective posts, if getting the right way to communicate the information. And yeah, get in touch. I mean, yes, we like all this technology, but it's also important that connection with the consumers and the people that are in contact with the consumer, like the people that work in the wine industry, and to give them some knowledge and encourage them. And once you have all this package done, I think it would empower them to be more comfortable with the consumers, both Canada and Romania. Because when you go, especially in a restaurant, and you talk to a knowledgeable person, and you see they talk with confidence and they're not snobby about wine, you're gonna have a great time, and you're gonna be able to discover more wines when you go, not just drink the same wine every time you go out.
For real. So, to more discoveries, to more fun conversations, to less judgment too. And I really wish you the best with your journey, with your like learning journey, your discovery, your projects. I really wish you the best of luck. It's been so nice talking to you. Hopefully, I'm gonna receive that picture with the Lambrusco bottle.
I think I'll find a bottle because I think they have. If not, I have Meech in Canada. We also make it there. So for sure, I'll send you a picture once I get home.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And thank you for being with us today, Mihai.
Thank you for taking your time, and we'll keep in touch. I'll keep you posted with my evolution on my goals, and we might have another conversation at some point.
Perfect. Please do.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Let us know your thoughts on our social media at Italian Wine Podcast, and follow us to keep up with the next generation of Italian wine people. Cheers!